Normally, I hate superheroes. Not because they never help out black people.
After Dave Chappelle broke into comedy as a teenager, becoming a well-known performer at the Apollo Theater by the age of just 19. After writing and starring in Half Baked back in 1998.
I'll stay for a minute.
He had sex with my mama. God, if you listen in hell.
Which was a fantastic film, just for the record.
I'm impotent, man. Get away from me, bitch!
After breaking DVD sales records with the first season of Chappelle Show, which sold 1.2 million in the first week alone.
Charlie Murphy! That was cold-blooded!
After walking away from a $50 million contract with Comedy Central, damaging his relationship with the network and his longtime writing partner, Neal Brennan.
It didn't really surprise me, to be honest with you.
Dave Chappelle went on a highly scrutinized pilgrimage to South Africa.
He did what?
Despite stating he went to gain perspective and focus on his life, the media constantly speculated it was due to mental illness and even addiction issues. When he returned to the United States, Dave spoke out against the racial inequalities he found in the entertainment industry. He left LA to live in rural Yellow Springs, Ohio with his wife and 2 children. But he would occasionally resurface in small comedy clubs across the country. What a show. If you were like, I wasn't expecting this. Now it's Dave Chappelle. Wow.
Sir, it's part of my show. I gotta put it out for real. I'm gonna pretend I'm smoking this. And you pretend you're a nice person.
In 2013, he returned to the mainstream comedy circuit, launching a North America tour. But it wasn't always the A-plus material everyone expected, and the audience would either get a 3-hour performance with rave reviews, or him walking off stage after saying something a little like this. Or, well, actually this.
You guys fucking suck as an audience, as a group, not individually.
What's going on, guys? My name is Michael McCrudden, documenting the life and career of Dave Chappelle after his time in the spotlight, here for you on After They're Famous. Now, this video, it was requested by you guys. As always, be sure to let me know in the comments down below who you want to hear about next. And if you want Dave Chappelle before they're famous, we can get that done. Let me know. You know where. Dave Carey Weber Chappelle was born on August 24th, 1973 in Washington, D.C. to his parents William and Yvonne, 2 accomplished university professors. His childhood was pretty relatable. His parents divorced and Dave split his time between Ohio and Maryland. He idolized comedians at a young age, inspired by the likes of Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor. Both of those men are notorious for their bold and sharp comedy. After graduating from Duke Ellington School for the Arts, Dave moved to New York City to pursue his dreams of being a stand-up comic. Within 2 years, he was not only a regular at the Apollo Theater and several other clubs, but had also broken into acting, joining the main cast of Mel Brooks' Robin Hood Men in Tights. And at this time, he was only 19 years young. He was doing good.
Excuse me, bad guys. I am running out of air. Gotta get pumped.
For the rest of the 90s, Dave's career continued to progress. He landed an HBO comedy special, a network sitcom, and big budget movie roles. I mean, who could forget young Dave Chappelle in the classic You've Got Mail? Yeah, this happened.
So I suppose she's carrying a copy of a book with a flower in it? Not really. Oh, she could be a real dog, man.
I know. I just forced all you diehard Chappelle fans into sitting through a turbo cheesy chick flick. I'm sorry. It was just 5 years later in 2003 that Dave made a deal with Comedy Central to star in his own sketch show, and by its second season, Chappelle's Show was the highest rated in its time slot, breaking sales records and creating catchphrases that would become cultural phenomenons. Yeah, I said it right. Let's roll a clip.
I'm Rick James, bitch. I'm rich, bitch!
Why don't you purify yourself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka?
I spit hot fire.
I'm kicking this nigga out the motherfucking window.
It'll get you drunk.
Game. Blouses.
Dave did something not a lot of comedians on television would tackle. He pulled out Hollywood insider scandal from behind closed doors and let the general public in on the laugh. And that's some of the ridiculousness of the Hollywood elite. Not all were impressed, including Prince, who would later get the last laugh. But we're not there yet. Dave had finally become a star with prospective movie deals, international notoriety, and a $50 million contract with Comedy Central. So naturally, he took the next logical step. he walked away from everything. I'm not kidding.
What was great was I couldn't tell people for like a week. And people would be like, where is he? I'd be like, I'd go like, can't tell you. It's hilarious though.
Why did he do this? Well, apparently some white guy in the audience at one of his shows, well, he laughed at a black joke. And that put it all into perspective for him. He wasn't happy.
Somebody on set that was white laughed in such a way. I know the difference of people laughing with me and people laughing at me.
Him leaving Comedy Central was an overnight news sensation. America's #1 comedian Dave Chappelle had not only walked away from a $50 million deal in mid-production of a 3rd season, but also had left the country on a flight to South Africa. A few weeks later, after his return, Dave did an exclusive interview with Oprah where he tried to explain his decision.
I was doing sketches that were funny, but socially irresponsible. I love being famous. Yeah. It's the way the people around you position themselves around you to get in your pockets and in your mind.
Dave also touched on racial conspiracies and difficulties he'd experienced in the industry, comments which continued to strain his already damaged relationship with friend and writing partner of 15 years, Neal Brennan.
I was bummed, but I also, I was like, I gotta figure out a way to do shit on my own.
Dave spent the rest of the 2000s in a reclusive state, occasionally popping up across the country in surprise comedy shows, interviews, and mostly enjoying his new life in Ohio with his family. But it seems that Dave couldn't resist show business forever, and 8 years after his departure from the show, he returned to the circuit to do a North American tour. Tickets sold out and venues were packed, but things didn't always go so smoothly. Since 2003, Dave had gained legions of new fans because of his sketch show and comedy specials. Many knew the safe Dave Chappelle from TV, and not the stand-up Dave Chappelle with nothing to lose. Most of the shows went well, but sometimes it could end up like this. I showed you a clip in the intro, but let's see if it's not so painful the second time.
Thank you. Good night.
I was wrong. It's just as bad and just as awkward. That was the infamous 2013 Hartford, Connecticut show, after which Dave said that if North Korea were going to bomb the US, he hoped it would drop on Hartford. Despite the drama and having t-shirts made that said "fuck Hartford," Dave returned a year later to apologize for the incident. He was met with a packed house, and judging by the standing ovations, I'd say he was forgiven. That same year, his impressions of the late Prince would come back to haunt Dave when he found himself on the cover of Prince's album Breakfast Can Wait, to which Dave said,
That's a Prince judo move right there, isn't it?
What, pancakes?
Well, no, it's like, you make fun of Prince in a sketch and he'll just use you in his album cover.
Dave has continued his comeback, but it looks like stand-up isn't the only thing he's doing sets of. I mean, the dude is getting ripped. Seriously, this is Dave in 2015 at a grocery store parking lot.
I saw Britney Spears and they're squeezing melons.
Hilarious and jacked, Mr. Chappelle has certainly figured it all out. Still working on that. Even the hilarity, still working on it. Dave Chappelle, you got 2 up on me. Things are looking like they are back on track for Dave. He's doing stand-up and has been touring for most of 2016, where he is receiving rave reviews. He even returned to acting in Spike Lee's Greek comedy adaptation, Chi-Raq. Does this mean that Dave Chappelle we know and love is finally returning to the spotlight? We'll just have to wait and see, because hey, this is After They're Famous. There you have it, guys. Dave Chappelle After They're Famous. Do you want to see it before they're famous? I can go into more depth. Let me know in the comments down below. My name is Michael McCrudden. We make all sorts of crazy videos on here. We also have McCrudden Entertainment because there's a lot of channels we are creatively involved in. Let us know what you guys want to see down below. I'll see you guys in another video.
Samuel Jackson, it's my beer. Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell.